K-pet. I'm going to see. No, I was going to load pet, but it's not happening. How about I'll load 6, 6, no, 1, 2, 8. There. I'm going to load 128. And then I'm going to press play on tape 1. So, we are now searching for 128. Now, I don't even know if there's anything on this tape. This is the back side. Oh. Well, there seems to be something. It is the back side of the diagnostic tape from Commodore. Now, it's not going to load the ROM test. It may be a backup of the other side of the tape. Found ROM test. This is looking similar. It is. So, these programs were not very big. And they need, as I have said, there's this magic box. ROM test, yes. It had a clip with, I guess, 40 pins that went on the 6502, and then there was a couple of connectors that went on ports to check them out. So, by the way, this is the way, in the old days, when somebody gave you a tape and you didn't know what was on it, this is basically like doing a directory. Oh, 4K memory poker. You can't, the tape is just sequential, it just is. There's no directory, there's no anything. So the way to really find out what was on, and I remember doing this, we would sit and put in load, something that wasn't going to be there, and watch. And then also, maybe using another PET, if we had one handy, or using a watch, we would write down the times. Now, later, of course, cassettes had counters. There we go again. So you could mark down, you could rewind, 0 the counter, and put down the counter number. And then, of course, I'm sure I mentioned this before, Commodore came out with a different version of the tape drive that also had a counter, but the numbering, the timing on the counter, or the rate which it moved, was not the same. So all the counter things went out the window with the wrong tape drive. So, but yes, these were what we did in the pioneer days. We would, oh, there we go. 8K memory poker. I think the 8K memory poker might have been the one that basically is the size of the 8K memory, so this one could take a while. But this is what we did to find out what was on the tape, or so that we could have an idea of where things were on tapes, so that you could hopefully fast forward to over the counter to the number just before and get things up quickly. And if you didn't know exactly where, you could just, take a guess and hope. Oh, 8K memory poker. So, and yes, this one, the screen is not green. The screen is monochrome. It's like a black and white television set. And yes, I think you can see that there. It is displaying the full memory of 7,167 bytes, which is not, it is 8K, but there's stuff that is needed. It's never works out exactly. So I am pleased. So I have to keep sorting what is working and what is not, and this keyboard of course still has issues, so I'm going to have to deal with that. Oh, 4K data checker. Maybe that's the one that fills the 4K. Yes, I think it is. and then there will be, it seems things are on here 2 or 3 times. It does. So, this chugs along here, but I think I will put this cassette deck in here, even though it has the funny top thing. I will look for some of the others, and I will tinker and putter and see what is what. And but it's nice to have one machine that seems to be up and running and happy, that then I can test other things with it. For example, I know if you've been watching, you know I found 2 bad RAM chips. So there are 16 RAM chips left in this other machine to test. And I will do it the same way. I will swap them in and out of the video RAM locations. And that should give me an idea of what's what. Then, of course, there are many, many, many other chips to check. And I can't think of a time in the past that checking such things by swapping them in and out has ever done damage to the good machine. I would like to think that that trend continues. I would like to think. And I guess another thing I can do now, I think, is I should be able to connect this up. I think. I think I can connect this up to a disk drive, and I could load in programs and give them a try. And relive some of those early moments. Like, I don't know if I have one of the first things I ever saw in the PET that was just like, gotta have it, was Space Invaders. But there are many other games that were neat, and the nice thing about them, a lot like the games today is, kind of like Angry Birds and other things, they're teaching you things, but you don't even realize they're teaching you things. For example, there was one called Artillery, I think it was, and you had to lob things over top of a mountain, and you could vary the number of bags of powder and the angle and such to try and hit your opponent before they got you. And there were many important lessons learned by playing that game, which, of course, as I say, you don't even realize you are learning about forces and angles and all kinds of things. Now, is it a good thing that you want to blow somebody up? No, not really, but you know, some people are down on gaming, but there's a lot of, people who get hooked on it who just never, go outside and drool on themselves. That's not necessarily healthy gaming. But this stuff, and I'll have to look back at some of the other things and find things and try things. They were educational without screaming at you, "Hey, you're learning something!" So, anyway, once again, you have no idea how pleased I am to have figured out how to test the RAM chips, do no damage, do no harm, and have a machine that is now, from what I can tell, fully functional. Although, I'm trying to remember if, I think I hooked a cassette deck up to this machine on the back side, which would be take 2, and I don't think it actually did work. So, but really, that could be, one of the, what is it, CIA chips? I'd have to look and see. Anyway, for all intents and purposes, except for a slightly dirty keyboard, this machine is quite happy. So yes, this 8K data checker, which is now found 2 of, I think is a program that is exactly like 7,167 bytes. So we can fill it and test it and move on. So, I guess there's some more to go on there. As I'm in the dark, I can't, so I don't know if there were more cassettes on here that they were supposed to be. There is another one here called Diagnostic Test Tape Number 2 for the Commodore PET. Then there's the 2040 System Test. And then there's one here. See, these ones are all printed. This one, oh, it's called Test Printer. But then there are the discs. And what is on the disc? I don't know. They're marked. They're marked with an S. And an A. And there's no like Commodore label. Who knows? They may. Oh yeah. Yes. They may not even be official Commodore testing things. Who knows? I'll have to look. So how are we doing? We're still on the 8K data checker. But don't those characters look good? Doesn't this just bring back memories? You have no idea how. I've had this machine, the one that didn't have the keyboard, for quite a while. And kind of like the 9060, always a little bit afraid to really dig into it, because I know they're old. But more and more, I guess, just like anything, the more you do something, or the more you try something and see that it isn't bad. Oh, screen alignment. Okay, we're getting somewhere here. We are. So, I think there are a few more little things on here. This is, of course, the back side of the tape, which seems to have the same content as the front of the tape. Which, oh, yeah, I figured that would be fast. It's a very small program. I am wondering, at some point, if I should try and make copies of these tapes and save the programs. Again, I'm wondering. Well, oh, there's that round test. I think it's almost done. I think it's going to come up and find that again. And then that will pretty much be that. So I don't know how long this tape is. But right now, just imagine you're 14 or 15. You're sitting in the back room of the computer lab at the school. And that for at least a little while, you are the one person who has access to the one PET. And you are writing a program, saving a program, loading a program, maybe a little all of the same. And these moments are what stuck with you and got you rolling into the world of computers. This is why, you know what? Some people don't understand that sometimes these, oh, okay, the tape is done. These little things that people do at young formative ages do have value. Like, okay. For example, my little fellow and some of his friends have been making up these. Maybe I just press this. Oh, there. Making up these little cards and supposedly making up some game. And some people, oh, waste of paper, waste of paper, waste of paper. Well, you never know. I mean, sometime, somewhere, some guy, somewhere, probably in Japan in this case, was thinking about, hey, Pokemon, yeah, something called Pokemon. And now, of course, it's, billions and billions of dollars. And then there's Dave Pilkey, the Captain Underpants man. He, people made fun of him. People are like, oh, what are you wasting your time on that for? Well, now he's got a bunch of books out. And really, those books, besides making him money, etc., etc., help a lot of kids. And, because, I mean, reading, like, if it's a chore to read, it's a chore. If it's something you want to read, you know, you can read the whole book and not think much of it. In terms of the time or anything else, it's just like, wow, I gotta read. So, when I finally have an 8K PET with 8K, and it's pretty much working, I feel joy. Indeed, life is good. So, and I'm glad that this tape is complete and it works. I wish I had the connectors and adapters and the magic box or whatever, but I don't. I'll look online, who knows, maybe somebody else is making them. Anyway, I suspect now I might go out. There's been kind of a nasty storm in Canada and it's very cold. And do I want to go out? No. But I might. So I'm suspecting I may indeed try plugging this cassette deck into the back of the machine and seeing if I can get it to work. Now, see, now here's another thing. Would it have worked before when it was deficient of RAM? Was it the RAM thing that was part of the trouble? I don't know. But I'm suspecting I will attempt to see just how perfect this machine is before I start switching things in and out of this other machine here that is, well, as they would say on Star Trek, he's dead, Jim. But of the two things that I have snagged out of it, which are RAM chips, they were fine. So, who knows where the trouble lies? Maybe eventually I will have two machines that are pretty happy, although I only have one keyboard at this moment. You know, parts are good. Being able to test things is really good. So, thank you for watching this exciting, basically loading the director of a tape operation. And we will continue with our experiments. Bye for now.